Hello YouTube, welcome to my YouTube channel, and at Bella, and today I'm going to be doing an intro to my Teachings of the Presidents of the Church review series. Obviously we've reviewed Thomas S. Monson's because his is the only one that I've got that is incredibly thick and in French. And his symbol is a little lamb. And obviously I've done Brigham Young's, and his symbol, rightly so, as he is an American Victorian, is a beehive, because the beehive was an extremely popular Victorian symbol, both sides of the Atlantic. Obviously, we've got Joseph Smith. His book is incredibly thick and it has the angel Moroni on the top, obviously. So we start here. Then Brigham. Then John Taylor, whose book is considerably thinner and his symbol is a quill and ink. Then we've got Wilfred Woodruff, and his symbol is actually a wagon. Then we've got Lorenzo Snow, and his symbol is a window. Then Joseph F. Smith, his symbol is a temple. Then we've got Herbert J. Grant, and his symbol is 3 wheat sheaves. Then we've got George Albert Smith, and his symbol is a dove. Then we've got David O. McKay, and his symbol is a little house. Then we've got Joseph Fielding Smith, and his symbol is the scriptures. Then we've got Harold B. Lee, and his symbol is an open book. One assumes it is the scriptures. Then Spencer W. Kimball is a lamp. Then Teachings of the Presidents of the Church, Ezra Taft Benson. We've got the gold plates, or the scriptures. Plates of brass, who knows, but one assumes the scriptures. Then we've got Harold W. Hunter, and it is a temple. One assumes. Could be a meeting house, but I think it's the temple. Then we've got Gordon B. Hinckley, and we have this communication tower, so it's like radio or celebrating modern technology, e.g. communications. And then obviously Thomas S. Monson is a lamb, and you can get President Nelson's teachings of the presidents, because I mean, here's 100, he could pass over the veil and pop his clogs at any moment. So his is actually being put together whilst he's alive. These books do not contain all of their teachings. They contain the most relevant teachings that have lasted through the decades. Because some of the stuff Brigham Young said wouldn't be acceptable today, particularly about the men that live on the moon. Sorry, Brigham, it's true. And it's the same with some of the others as well. So what you have here, I'm going to take Howard W. Hunter just as an example. We're not doing his full review, but you've got the historical summary of his life. Then you get the life and ministry of Howard W. Hunter, which is an excellent read. And obviously these have been edited to protect the privacy of family members and other people that come into contact in their lives. Because you've got to be respectful, because these were living, breathing people that had children and knew people. You know, it's not like Joseph and Brigham and John Taylor, who you can pull apart. And basically this top line, you can basically pull them apart critically and historically, because they are historical figures. And so are all the rest, but all the rest have got family living. So you've got to be really careful. And it's the same with the royal family, and it's the same with any major figures like the President of the United States, etc., etc. You have to be careful, because, you know, the amount of people that these people come into contact with, it's basically being a political figure, historical figure, and a religious figure all round up into one. You've got to be really careful. So then you have their main teachings, and it's usually 24 chapters. Though obviously if you're somebody like Joseph Smith, you are going to have 47 chapters, you know, or Brigham, who has 48 chapters, you know, or even Joseph F. Smith, because his book is slightly larger, and there are reasons that some have got longer books than others, and he's got 48, you know, whereas Joseph has only got 47. That doesn't mean anything. And you've got to remember that as soon as you start getting down here, a lot of it was about maintaining consistency. It's only relatively recently that a lot of the stuff that I believe Thomas S. Monson decided to do, and possibly Gordon B. Hinckley decided to do, and Hunter and Ezra Taft Benson, they decided to do is coming to fruition now. We're talking the streamlining and the new children and youth programme and what's going on with FSY and various other stuff. The programmes of the church are being streamlined with the Come Follow Me curriculum, etc., etc. That took decades to plan and to do. And I mean, now change is happening so much because they're on social media, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, X or whatever it's called, YouTube, you name it. They fully embraced it because they have to. At one point they were like, no, but the internet broke them and millennials all left. Speaking as an elder millennial myself. So yeah, this is basically all of the books, apart from obviously Nelson's, but his is being compiled as we speak because, I mean, he's 100 and he could drop dead at any moment. Not to be coarse about it, but it's a fact. How many people do you know that are 100 and still living? So here we all are. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. If I take this one out and I take Brigham out, that leaves me with 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 reviews to do. And obviously, Russell, Marion Nelson's teachings book will happen. Don't you just love the one in French? I know, so cool. So here they all are, and it's interesting that they went with this for Joseph, and they went with this for Brigham, and then afterwards it's like these two got sort of like a dark coloration, and then everybody else was very samey, apart from Herbert J. Grant. There must be a reason for it, but I remember that these were what everybody was studying in Sunday school for quite some time, actually, in the early 2000s. But it's actually nice that everybody has got a summary of relevant teachings from each president. There may be obviously some historical controversies, but these probably very likely will not contain them, or they will possibly mention it in a way that is respectful, but mostly probably not, because it's all about, you know, gospel doctrine and what doctrine or what aspect of the gospel did this particular president emphasize. Because after these two and after the manifesto on polygamy, they were really about keeping the doctrine aligned, hence why Gospel Principles Manual is so important. If the general authorities and the Quorum of the 12 and the presidency, which is 3, got president and his 2 councillors, aren't in alignment with the Gospel Principles Manual, we've got something very wrong crackling off. And that's basically as simple as it gets. And it's interesting that each one has got their own symbol, hence why I showed them to you. And this is basically the intro to all of their reviews. I just thought I'd give you sort of like a baseline for this. I've got 2 that I've done, and I've got the rest to do. We're going to do Joseph's very soon, but I thought I'd let you know and see them all like this, and in order of, you know, oldest to newest. But obviously, you know, we've got President Nelson's, and that's been compiled whilst he's alive, and people go, oh, that's unusual. And I'm like, not really. The guy's 100. How many 100-year-olds live longer than that? Anyway, if he does live long, that's nice. If he doesn't, well, that's not surprising. He's 100. So here we have them. I will be reviewing and looking at each one in turn and trying to figure out what specific thing this particular president highlighted, because they all highlighted a different thing. Ignore the 3 at the top. They're a whole other different kettle of fish to the others. The others are about maintaining. And it does get tricky because we're dealing with a global church. There are more members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or Mormons, or LDS, or whatever term you want to call it, living outside of the United States of America and outside of the Utah bubble. Because remember, the Utah bubble is very Mormon-centric. That's like headquarters, particularly of the mountain lot. The prairie lot, the Community of Christ, are a different kettle of fish. There are lots of different branches. This just happens to be supposedly the largest and got a lot of members that don't live in Utah or United States of America, which means that getting information to them takes a little longer. So something that happens in Utah that is to do with Utah politics or even United States politics doesn't actually filter out some of the countries, because some of the stuff that they do is not appropriate or against that country's constitution or whatever. So It is interesting because you're dealing with an organisation that is primarily religious, but it does have a political bent and it does have political control and economic control in Utah. Outside of that, less so. But political figures do meet the president of the church. That has been known, and they're very respectful and they listen to what everybody has to say. But Welfare Square does tend to benefit Utah. No offence. And the rest of America. And obviously some of the produce that is produced in Welfare Square does go to some of the humanitarian projects around the world that the church supports. Some people say they could do more. To be absolutely honest, I say that they're doing as much as they can while staying in the green. They don't want to get into debt. And obviously people are worried about the archives being destroyed. Well, let me just put that to rest. I know what's going on in the White House is not great, particularly the destruction of the American archives. But let me be assured that anything that the LDS Church has will be stored in the mountains in Utah. They've got a massive vault there of church member records, patriarchal blessing records, baptism records, family history records, and church history records. They will be stored very safely in that mountain. Don't you worry, because we're a record-keeping people. It's what we do. I mean, look at these books. They went through like all their works with a fine tooth comb and came up with like a 24-page chapter book. And the first chapter, the first little bit, the little bit at the top, we can get this to focus. The first two bits, the historical summary and the life and ministry of Howard W. Hunter are not part of the teachings. So church history is pretty good at keeping records when they want to be. Obviously, it's complicated. Joseph Smith Paper Project is a great place to start for church history. Go there. I say just go to the Joseph Smith Papers Project. You can watch the TV show that they did and you can see the actual records where they discuss various things. I'm all about correct documentation and having records to back it up. If 3 people were at an event and we've got those 3 people's journal entries to say this event happened, it's very likely that that event did happen. Obviously, you're going to have bias because those 3 people might have very different perspectives on what happened there. And that's fine because individuals do that. They do have unique perspectives. But the fact that the 3 people went to that fair and they documented it means that fair happened. And on top of it, usually if you have an event or of some kind, you will then have a poster or some kind of display telling, oh, here's the poster for that event. So therefore you've got 4 documents. You've got 3 journal entries of individuals that went, and then you've got the poster for said event. And that I think is so important for historical documentation. Remember, your perspective is only one piece of the puzzle or one thread on the line, and these guys hold the thread or pass the torch of faith. And it's so important. And people are like, why? And I'm like, history is history, particularly religious history. It's all complicated. It's all churny. As they say in Dune, when religion and politics get in the handcart, the whirlwind follows, and that's unstoppable. Anyway, I've babbled enough. This is the intro to my reviews of the teachings of the Presidents of the Church. Hope you've enjoyed it. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you so much for the support. Bye.